In the vast silent expanse of space, the UTS Scrapper, a small corvette-class starship, tumbled helplessly towards an unseen force. Its engines sputtered and died as it was yanked from hyperspace, the navigational systems unable to correct their course in time. "Report," barked Captain Victoria Hartley, her heart pounding in her chest like a distant explosion. Lieutenant Jamal Washington, the ship's helmsman, scanned his console, fingers dancing across the controls. "We've been caught in a gravity well, sir. Something massive. Readings suggest it's a black hole." Hartley cursed under her breath. Black holes were notoriously dangerous, their immense gravitational pull making them nearly impossible to navigate safely. She knew the Scrapper couldn't outrun it, nor could they use their FTL drive while so close. Evasive maneuvers, she asked hopefully. Washington shook his head. "It's too late for that, Captain. We're being pulled in." Hartley activated the ship wide comm. "All hands, brace yourselves. Impact imminent." She cut the connection and gripped her chair's armrests tightly as the Scrapper plunged towards the event horizon, the point of no return. The crew held their breath as they crossed it, and everything went white. When the lights flickered back on, the bridge was a scene of chaos. Consoles smoked, screens displayed error messages, and several crew members lay unconscious or injured. Hartley surveyed the damage, her heart sinking at the sight of Lieutenant Commander Alexei Petrov, the ship's executive officer, slumped over his console, a pool of blood forming beneath him. "Medic," she called out, rushing to Petrov's side, but it was too late. He was already gone. She closed his eyes gently and stood up, determination burning in her gaze. "Status report." Ensign Maria Rodriguez, the communications officer, looked up from her station, pale but composed. We're inside the black hole, Captain. Our instruments can't make sense of what they're seeing. It's like space itself is being rewritten." Washington turned to Hartley, his eyes wide with disbelief. "There are stars where there shouldn't be any, and they're moving. Wrong. We're seeing things that shouldn't be possible." Hartley stared at the main viewscreen, where distant galaxies whirled in impossible patterns, defying the laws of physics as she knew them. She felt a shiver run down her spine. This was uncharted territory. "We need to find a way out," she said firmly. "Engineering, what's our status?" Chief Engineer Dr. Amelia Patel responded over the comm, her voice tinny and distorted. "Engines are offline, Captain. We've taken significant damage hull breaches on decks 3 and 5. Life support is functioning at minimal capacity. I'm working on getting power back to the engines, but it's not looking good." Hartley nodded grimly. They were trapped inside a black hole, their ship crippled, with no way out and no hope of rescue, but she refused to give in to despair. "We'll find a way," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. "We always do." Hours turned into days as the crew worked tirelessly to repair the Scrapper. They jury-rigged systems, sealed hull breaches with makeshift patches, and rationed oxygen and food. Hartley spent her time between the bridge, engineering, and the infirmary, checking on their progress and tending to the injured. Dr. Patel called her to engineering one morning, her face grim. "Captain, we've managed to stabilize the ship's systems, but our engines are beyond repair. We can't generate enough power to escape this thing." Hartley leaned against a console, rubbing her temples. "What about using the black hole's gravity to slingshot us out?" "It's risky," Patel warned. "If we don't time it just right, we could be pulled back in or sent careening into deep space at dangerous speeds, and even if we succeed, we'll have no idea where we'll end up." Hartley sighed, considering. Their options, or lack thereof. They were running out of time, supplies, and hope. "Let's assume for a moment that we can pull this off," she said eventually. "What would our trajectory look like?" Patel brought up a holographic display of their current position within the black hole, marked by a pulsating red dot. She traced a possible escape route with her finger, illustrating how they might use the black hole's gravity to launch themselves back into normal space. "If we can get enough speed and momentum, we could potentially emerge near an uncharted star system," she explained, "but it would be months before we could establish communications with UTS Command." Hartley nodded, her mind made up. She couldn't abandon her crew to die inside a black hole, not if there was even the slightest chance they could escape. "Make it happen, Amelia," she ordered softly. "We're getting out of here." The Scrapper shuddered and groaned as Dr. Patel and her team worked feverishly to prepare the ship for their desperate gamble. They rerouted power from non-essential systems into the main engines, cannibalizing parts from other sections of the ship to build a makeshift gravitational dampener. As they approached the point of no return, Hartley gathered her senior officers on the bridge. Washington was at the helm, his hands steady despite the tension in his shoulders. Rodriguez sat beside him, monitoring their communications systems such as they were, given the distortion caused by the black hole's gravity. "We've come this far together," Hartley said, looking each of them in the eye. "We're not going to let it beat us now." Washington gave her a small smile. "You got that right, Captain." Rodriguez nodded, her jaw set firmly. "Let's get out of here." Hartley turned to Patel, who was strapped into her seat at engineering station, connected via holographic link to the bridge. The chief engineer gave her a thumbs up. "Ready when you are, Captain," she said. Hartley took one last look around the bridge, then gripped her chair's armrests tightly. "Engage." The Scrapper lurched forward, its engines roaring back to life with a fierce, desperate intensity. The ship trembled and groaned as it fought against the black hole's gravity, inching ever closer to the event horizon. Suddenly, the stars on the main viewscreen blurred into streaks of light, then slowly began to resolve themselves into recognizable constellations once more. They had made it, they were back in normal space. Cheers erupted from the bridge as Hartley let out a sigh of relief, slumping back in her chair. But their ordeal was far from over. They were adrift in an uncharted star system, with no way to communicate with UTS Command, and no idea where they were going. "We did it," Hartley whispered, looking at the stars twinkling before them like distant promises of hope. "Now let's find our way home." The days that followed were a blur of jury, rigged repairs, rationed meals, and endless calculations as Dr. Patel and her team worked tirelessly to determine their new trajectory. They managed to cobble together enough of the ship's communications array to send out a distress signal on multiple frequencies, but there was no telling when or even if it would be detected. In the meantime, Hartley focused on keeping morale high among the crew. She organized shifts in the makeshift gymnasium, encouraged creative projects like painting and writing, and held regular all-hands meetings to update everyone on their progress. One afternoon, while returning from a meeting with Patel, she passed by the infirmary and overheard Ensign Rodriguez talking quietly with one of the injured crew members. The young woman was sitting up in bed, her eyes bright despite the bandages wrapped around her head. And then Captain Hartley said, "We're not going to let it beat us now," Rodriguez told her, lowering her voice to mimic Hartley's tone. "And everyone on the bridge we all knew right then that we were going to make it out." Hartley smiled softly at the memory and continued on her way, feeling a warmth in her chest at the thought of her crew's resilience. Weeks turned into months as they drifted through uncharted space, their supplies dwindling despite rationing. Hartley spent countless hours staring out at the stars, wondering if they'd ever see home again. One morning, she awoke from a fitful sleep to find Washington standing over her, shaking her gently by the shoulder. "Captain," he said urgently, "you need to see this." She rubbed the sleep from her eyes and followed him onto the bridge. On the main viewscreen was an image of a planet, a swirling blue, and green marble suspended in the void like a beacon of hope. "What is it?" she asked, her heart pounding in her chest. Washington grinned at her, his teeth white against his dark skin. "Our new home, Captain, at least for now." Rodriguez turned to them, her eyes wide with excitement. "I'm picking up signs of intelligent life structures, infrastructure. It looks like there's a city down there." Hartley felt a surge of relief mixed with apprehension. They had found civilization, but that didn't mean they'd be welcomed with open arms. "Prepare an away team," she ordered. "We're going to need to make first contact." The landing party consisted of Hartley, Washington, Rodriguez, and Dr. Patel, along with 4 armed security personnel. As they descended towards the planet's surface in one of the Scrapper's remaining shuttles, Hartley couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The city below was unlike any she had seen before, sprawling yet organic, its buildings crafted from some sort of bioluminescent material that pulsed with an otherworldly light. As they touched down in a large plaza, surrounded by towering structures that seemed to breathe and sway like plants in the breeze, Hartley couldn't help but feel small and insignificant. They were greeted by a group of alien beings unlike any they had encountered before. Tall, slender creatures with iridescent skin that shimmered like oil on water. Their eyes were large and dark, like pools of liquid night, and they moved with a grace that seemed almost unearthly. One of the aliens stepped forward, extending a long, delicate hand towards Hartley. "Welcome, travelers," it said, its voice resonating within their minds rather than being heard through their ears. "We are the Luminary. You have journeyed far." Hartley hesitated for a moment before taking the alien's hand. Its touch was cool and smooth, like marble on a winter's day. She introduced herself and her crew, explaining how they had been pulled into the black hole and managed to escape. The Luminary listened intently, their expressions unreadable. When Hartley finished speaking, one of them stepped forward, carrying a small device that pulsed with soft light. "We can help you," it said. "This beacon will guide you to our homeworld, where we can repair your ship and provide assistance." Hartley eyed the beacon warily. After everything they'd been through, she was reluctant to trust anything offered so freely by an unknown alien race. "What's the catch?" she asked bluntly. The Luminary leader smiled gently. "No catch, Captain Hartley. We exist solely to aid those in need. It is our purpose, our calling." Something about the alien's words resonated deep within Hartley's soul, and she found herself believing them despite her initial reservations. She accepted the beacon with a grateful nod. "Thank you," she said softly. "We won't let you down." The journey to the Luminary homeworld was uneventful, though slow due to the Scrapper's damaged engines. As they approached, Hartley couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the sight before them. A vast, spinning wheel of gleaming silver and gold, its surface covered in lush greenery and shimmering pools of water. Their welcome was warm and genuine with the Luminary. Leaders greeting them personally on the landing platform, Hartley stepped off the Scrapper first, followed by Washington, Rodriguez, and Patel, all of whom had been invited to attend the welcoming ceremony along with their captain. "You are most welcome here," said Luminary Elder Cale, his voice like a soft melody played on distant strings. "We have heard your story, Captain Hartley, and we honor you for your bravery in facing the abyss and emerging victorious." Hartley bowed her head briefly in acknowledgment of the compliment. "Thank you, Luminary Elder," she said. "Your assistance has been invaluable. We could not have done it without you." The Luminary smiled enigmatically. "We are all connected, Captain. Your struggle was ours as well." Over the next few days, the Luminaries worked alongside the UTS crew to repair the Scrapper's systems and prepare them for their journey home. They shared stories of their own encounters with black holes' tales filled with wonder and danger, told in voices that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of space itself. During one such gathering, Hartley asked Elder Cale about what they had seen inside the black hole, the impossible stars, the warped physics, and the strange phenomena that defied explanation. "It is difficult to describe," he said gently, "but perhaps it is enough to know that we are not alone in our journey through space even when we believe ourselves isolated." As the Scrapper prepared for launch, Hartley felt a strange sense of calm wash over her. They had faced the impossible and survived. They would do so again. With a final wave goodbye to their newfound allies, the UTS crew set course for home, carrying with them memories of their extraordinary journey and the knowledge that even in the darkest depths of space there was hope to be found. As the Scrapper emerged from its long voyage through uncharted territory, it limped into familiar star systems, its engines wheezing like an old man taking his first steps. Hartley stood on the bridge, watching as Earth's blue glow grew brighter against the black canvas of space. She thought of Petrov and all those they'd lost along the way, their sacrifices etched into every scar and dent on the ship's hull. They had faced the unimaginable together, a journey no one could ever have prepared them for, but in doing so, they had proven that humanity belonged among the stars. "Captain," Rodriguez said softly from her station, "I'm detecting multiple vessels approaching us. They appear to be UTS warships." Hartley felt a lump form in her throat as she looked at the tactical display, where 5 green icons blinked steadily, rescue ships sent to bring them home. She straightened her shoulders, pride swelling within her chest. "Open a channel," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to spill over. "This is Captain Victoria Hartley of the UTS Scrapper, requesting immediate assistance." As the response came through, welcoming them back and promising swift medical attention for the injured crew members, Hartley couldn't help but smile. They had faced the impossible and survived not just as individuals, but as a team. "We're on our way home," she said softly, looking at her crew gathered around the bridge. "Let's go get ourselves patched up and ready to face whatever adventure comes next." And so, with their rescue ships escorting them back towards UTS territory, the UTS Scrapper set course for home, a small but determined speck of light amidst the infinite expanse of space.